Now, we are here for the last part of this session today is this rubber industry news server. This one is focusing on the quality issues, the role of quality assurance in rubber industry for business excellence. We have an expert, Mr. R.S. Kannan, is a director of the JK Associates, is basically of the consulting and training and quality. He's giving a talk on the subject and the role of quality assurance in rubber industry for business excellence. Let me brief you about Mr. Kannan. He has over 38 years experience in the manufacturing industry covering the quality assurance, process engineering, and last 10 years he's actually involved in implementation, practicing the total quality management TQM for a business improvement. He has extensive experience in experience setting up quality systems, best business process designs with the first time right approach. I've set up an end-to-end quality process systems on a greenfield project, manufacturing with a focus on the continuous improvement and the lean setup. He's also a promising passionate professional with a global and a cross-cultural mindset, application of lean technology, war on waste, fully committed to working in total quality management practices. He's also one of the, he was a part of the core team on achieving the Deming Prize first time in India in tire industry. We're currently working on integrating the TQM principles in the digitalization process. And he has experience with the MRF, Mordistone, Dunlop, Seat, Allianz Tires, and ATG. So Mr. Kannan is well experienced on the quality. He will be giving a talk on the role of quality assurance in rubber industry for business excellence. This will be a little longer session. I want you all of you follow this. This is a very important topic for all the rubber industries. Quality, quality, quality. I think we talked about in today's session the Mr. Saga Elastomar, what is emphasis of quality, and you look at the problems related to the impurities. So let's look at this subject now on the role of quality assurance in rubber industry for business excellence.
Welcome to Rubber Industry Business Talk, organized by TechnoBiz. This is a TechnoBiz event. Today we are going to discuss on the role of quality assurance in rubber industry for business excellence. I'm Kannan, director of JK Associates, basically into consulting and training on quality. So when we say role of quality assurance and rubber industry, generally people think that quality assurance is something which is very critical in manufacturing setup, but we will see my experience in the industry of rubber and tires for nearly 4 decades has shown me a very clear indication that quality is there all across, whether it is any particular industry or any particular even service industry. So we are going to see how it is going to be influencing the rubber industry as well. So before we start, this is one thing which I always feel: whatever we do, whatever we learn, it is not only for enhancing our independent individual knowledge or our own enlightenment, but it should reflect in a pure joy for the service of the society also. So there is a Shabashita in Sanskrit which says Vidyam dadati vinayam vinayad yati patratam patratva dhanamapnoti dhanat dharmam tata sukham, which says that true knowledge brings humility, and from humility comes worthiness. From worthiness, one gets the wealth. From wealth, one does good deeds, and from that comes a joy. So, whatever we are doing in our regular walk of life, it should aim at creating a joy for us and to the people around us. Since the day's topic is role of quality assurance, in rubber industry. So let's do some bit of a small introspection within ourselves, asking this question: what is quality? So if I have to throw this question to 100 different people, 100 different people will come out with a different perception of their own version of what is quality to them. So let us analyze a few of them. So what is quality? Conformance to specifications. So every activity of manufacturing, be it in rubber industry, tire industry, or any industry for that matter, it is set to some specification, and the specifications are issued by the customer. So conformance means completely complying and meeting the specification. Is it the conformance to specification which is quality? Is the first one. Next is latent need. If you see latent need, what is latent need? It's an attractive quality. For example, if you look in the early past, when the motorcycle or even the car used to come, they used to hand over too many keys, like one for the ignition, one for the door, one for the boot. But today, with one key, every door, every operation is done. So what does it mean? Did the customer go and tell the manufacturer that I need so many keys to be eliminated and converting it to one key? No. But the company people, when they saw that this person is actually you know toggling with different keys to open, and then finding it difficult to arrive at the right key, so they felt it need to give them a single key which will be covering all the three aspects or the three activities. So this is attractive quality. This is not the one which customer has asked for. This is a latent need. So seeing the customer going through some trouble or some difficulty, you come out with your own perception of mitigating the problem, and that is called as attractive quality. Next one, we are talking about a strictly ISO, that is International Organization for Standardization, which is the mother of all the standards across the globe. So what does that say? It is the ability of a set of inherent characteristics of a product, system, or process to fulfill requirements of customers and other interested parties. So is this the quality? Next, fitness for use. There was one Mr. Juran, and he was a quality guru who transformed Japan post World War II into a completely devastated economy to a very high level quality accepted and a benchmark quality country in the whole world. So he says that quality is fitness for use, which includes the issues of reliability, availability, and maintainability. So is this the quality? We also see value for money. Now I am a person who is actually feeling hungry and want to eat something, but I don't have money in my pocket more than say $10. So how do I do? So I can go to any nearby shop where I can take a pizza, one small burger or something like that, and satisfy my appetite and fulfill my appetite with that small sum of money I have. If I have a big purse, then I can go to any proper good restaurant and satisfy and splurge on having a very sumptuous lunch or dinner. So both are actually fulfilling the appetite. But here, when I say quality, the money that I have, which is fetching me what I need to immediately fulfill and satisfy my desire, is met in both the cases with a difference between what I spent in the first case and the second case. So it is basically value for money. Whatever I spend, whether I'm getting the money's worth out of what I spend in the product or services that I'm offering to the customers. So these are some of the top of the mind thoughts which comes to say, if I have to define a quality, how do I define? So basically, we look at quality is a totality of features and characteristics of a product or service that bear on its ability to satisfy given needs. So now, when I have to sum up everything, what is a quality? Then it is a combination of all. So whatever we described, and there may be much more than this also. So basically, we are talking about meeting a specification, meeting a customer demand, thinking about attractive quality, latent need. We are talking about value for money, and then we are talking about a fitness for use, which is a functional characteristics, which is talking about reliability, availability, and the maintainability. Now, having seen what is quality, why we need quality, what if I don't have quality, and what happens if I don't have a quality. So quality is basically needed because if I want a good repetitive customers coming to my doorstep, I need a good quality. If the quality is not there, people nowadays don't even look at the company or the product or the service that we are offering. So good quality will make for a happy customers. Next, why we need quality? To promote repeat business. More and more new people coming also grows the business, but more important is existing customers should come back to me again and again, so that I have a repeat promotion of my existing business. So that is why I need a quality. Why I need quality? It enhances productivity. How quality can enhance productivity? Basically what we are seeing, when the quality is very good, when the quality is of a very high level, then it reduces our rejections. It brings in a better conformity to the variations and the stable and capable processes. When this happens, automatically my rejections go down, my rework goes down, my scrap goes down. And when these rework, rejection and scrap goes down, it increases the output and thereby increases the productivity. So that's how quality is directly related to good quality is related to higher productivity. When a higher productivity happens, then we are in a position to sell that much more to the market, and this increases the sales. So when the sales goes up, automatically the profits also goes up, so it leads to the higher profit. When all these things are happening, my business is on a promotion mode, it is on an enhancement mode. So automatically the development and growth of the business happens. When this is happening, then the people, the employees who are involved in the system are assured of their job for continuity, for perpetuity, and then this increases the job security for them. Then what is it? Overall, the better quality, I mean, work of life itself is becoming comfortable. When the quality is good, your rejections are less, your fatigue and the muri, it comes down. Automatically, it increases your morale, and then that's how you become a happy person internally while doing the job. So, is any one of these is the reason for why we should have a quality? Not at all. This, whatever we discussed, is again some of the few thoughts. There are this and many more which constitutes the reason why we need a good quality. Again, one distinct difference between the perception and mindset of the customer. The customers in the early 70s, 80s, 90s, even up to the 2000, when you look at, they were only worried about a product with a good quality, and they were not worried about delivery. They were not worried about the cost, how much it is, because we still remember that when Maruti came into country, when Hero Honda came into country, what happened was we used to book a vehicle and wait for 4 years and 5 years to get a delivery of the product at whatever cost that they were telling, because it was a supplier's market. It was completely controlled by the sellers. So as a customer, we had to wait and endure the time till the availability is made to us. But in today's, with the world opening up, economy opening up, businesses growing, there is no such situation. In today's customer, he says that I need a completely good quality. There is no question of settling for a second grade quality, and that quality, highest quality, has to come at the lowest cost and at the fastest delivery speed. So he wants a complete paradigm shift in not only the quality, it also has to be in the cost as well as on the delivery. So that is today's customer. And if you have to get to this aspect and meet the customer's demand, then we need to enhance and see that our quality is always at the top level. Again, when we say why quality, the customer expectations on quality, cost and delivery is given the first, the arrow, whereas the process output, currently what we have is the second arrow. Thereby there is a big gap. So this gap is happening because of so many reasons. So we need to understand, in reality we are really not meeting the customer expectation to the levels of QCD. So what is the gap and why is the gap and what we need to do for the filling of the gap? So let us understand why this gap is coming. This gap is essentially coming because of variation. So if variation is inevitable in any process, but what we are talking about is not eliminating variation. We are only talking about minimizing and maximum how much you can reduce the variation, so that you make the process completely predictable, you make the process completely capable. So when we are in a position to bring in these two aspects into the process, so then we say that our variations are at the lowest level, rather than from high variation and completely unpredictable variation. You are able to predict and minimize the variation. Thereby, you are saying that my product has to meet a certain level of definite standard of quality, which is much ahead of what the customer has expected from us. Now, when you say this, we are talking about variation, we are using the word process. And what is a process? Process is nothing but converting an input into an output using a set of interrelated activities, primarily using the resources like 4M, man machine material method, to achieve a desired output, and inherently ensuring that we meet with the effectiveness and efficiency. The other aspect why the gap is coming is because of the waste. When the variations are high, then the conformity to the requirements are low, and with the conformity going low, non-conformity becomes high, and the non-conformity leads to waste. So when you have a waste generation in the process, it is actually leading to a kind of a rework or a repair or a scrap or even a waste as it is, and then it is going to hit on the quality as well as on the productivity. So generally, the waste can be from the all the three: people and quality and material, all the three fronts. So how do we look at waste? There is a acronym called as a TIMWORD, basically, which talks about the 7 types of waste. Transportation is one definite waste which we can control, identify and minimize it. Inventory is again another waste where we don't have to keep storing more work in process material across the width. And then M stands for the movement. So movement or motion, when we are saying people working in a particular area, moving frequently to the left, to the right, up, down, to fetch a material to support their process. This is again a waste of time. Again, waiting for the product to come, intermediate work in process material to arrive. So waiting is again a waste. Overproduction, over processing, I mean the time taken more for processing or the numbers produced more, both are considered to be waste. And finally, D, the defect, which is again a direct waste which is in the system. So when you have a huge variation in the process coupled with a great waste being generated, then we are sure to see that this is impacting the output flow, and then this gap has to be completely minimized and completely made to as good as a zero level, if at all we wanted to improve the perception from our product, whatever we are giving to the customer on QCD. There are 4 levels of evaluation of quality. As the pre-World War II and all, the quality, when we say, it used to be predominantly inspection. So what is an inspection? Whether, even if you see in a actual rubber industry where the rubber is produced and where the rubber is taken from the trees and converted into sheets and graded, it is only done on an inspection basis. There is a standard reference which is given, and then the grading starts with RSS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you look at the color, you look at the texture, look at the standard given, and compare with the standard and see it is meeting my requirement or not, and then accordingly grade it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the basic method of quality, when absolutely nothing is there to define what is right and what is wrong. You have a standard sample, and looking at the sample, make a go no go or make a qualitative pass fail kind of a classification, which is called as inspection. Now this is mostly done on the final product. If you talk about a rubber sheet, we take the latex, we process the latex, and then we convert it into a rubber sheet, dry it, and post drying, when the sheet is ready, then you do the sorting and do this classification of go no go, and then grade it from RSS 1 to RSS 5. If you talk about in-house in any manufacturing setup, in any kind of a production activity, you have multiple sub processes leading to formation of a product finally. Now, every substation and the product working process component is getting developed, you don't check or you don't have a control on that. You only go to the final product and see the product with respect to the standard and classify it as a go no go. So this is generally the inspection process, and this inspection process is not a good one because it is completely reactive, and this will only increase the opportunity for non-conformance product to be accumulated at the end, which means it's a value drain for you in the process. Then the second stage came as a quality control. So whatever we were doing at a final stage, we were trying to bring it into the intermediate stages and putting some kind of a control aspect on the process to decide whether we can minimize and improve the rejections at the final end. It did definitely make a big improvement, but not the improvement that we are looking out for, because eventually if I had originally had 50% okay and 50% wrong, now it must have come to 75% okay and 25% wrong, yet 25% is a big rejection. That is why both these kind of levels of quality are called as a reactive, because you don't have any proactive control. You are only looking at either a finished product or in the intermediate product which is developed, and then you are rejecting. Then came the third level with changes of time and the changes of expectation of customer. We needed to go from a reactive mode to a proactive mode, and then we came out with what is called as quality assurance. So when the quality assurance came, then the processes were getting defined, quality system was getting defined, and approach was made on the process approach, which is a PDCA: plan, do, check, and act. And every process that we do, it was seen from a customer angle. So everything became customer centric, customer became the focal point. And then last but not the least, it was based on a continual improvement. We will see what is a continual improvement as we go down the journey, but these are the three main characteristics of a quality assurance principle, where you have to ensure that a system is in place and it is there with the process approach. And this being a process where you are laying down the system and you are laying down the processes and how to do, then you are actually making a pre control to ensure that nothing goes wrong. So when this process evolved, then we call it as a proactive process. Now, is this good enough? Still not good enough, because the expectation of customer is still going higher and higher and higher. So as the expectation goes higher and higher, we are now going to talk about an end-to-end quality, not only which is on the process. If I am talking about a rubber, we are not only talking about the rubber sheet that we are going to give. We have to now start looking at how the trees are maintained, how the latex is collected, how the latex is processed, transported. So like that, everywhere we need to ensure that processes are put in place where the impact of the other resources like man, machine, material, method has very little influence, and you have only the processes which takes care of the entire ecosystem. So that is called as total quality management, which starts from end to end process, from people, process, and customer. So when I say people, it is hiring to firing of a people. When I say process and manufacturing related activity, if it is a sales, from taking a customer order to ensuring that the follow up with the customer service is completely in place. When you talk about a material function, talking about identification and selection of a vendor to development of a vendor and continuously handholding him, and in seeing that we become a vendor partner actually. So in every aspect of the processes, sub processes, we need to ensure that end-to-end aspect of a quality is given a high focus. Now, generally what happens whenever this kind of a situation happens, like we encounter a rejection, we encounter a process abnormality, then there are two ways of reaction. One is, you know you can be a proactive person, you can be a reactive person, but generally the mindset of people are made, or even the ecosystem is made in such a way that we are more on a reactive process, but it is consciously made and cultivated that we need to move from a reactive to proactive process in order to win over it over a long period of time and in a sustained way. So when we say this reactive to proactive, what happens? Changes are likely to happen all around us in the environment at all time, and every change comes and brings in a new behavior. So when the changes are happening around, like COVID is a change recently we had. So how you make your mindset and develop the processes around you to handle this COVID is actually what makes you a person to think in a proactive way or in a reactive. You can always lie low, cribbing, crying, but that's not going to help us in any way. So there are three types of um, uh, setups. One is a common man implementer. One is the blockers or high resistance to change kind of people, and other one of the leaders who set a new path for the next generation to follow us. So when how these people differ? While the common man implementer always thinks, yeah, when there is a change happening around creating impact, he says we'll wait and watch. We will not do any hasty action anywhere. Let's wait and watch. So it not only consumes time, it also creates an impact on our working process in the form of a business excellence or output or in the profitability. Next is little anxiety is there, then some reactive state. I'm not really going into the finding what exactly went wrong or how I can defeat it or how I can overcome it. That kind of a thought process is not given. I straight away jump into reactive process with the anxiety and because of anxiousness. So this is a resistance to change because I don't want to make a change around me immediately because I am fearing for any changes that I'm likely to comprehend or contemplate. Then the last one is a proactive one who normally look for, they have a positive restlessness around the entire event, and then they look for a proactive state of thinking and coming out with a better method. And these people are the leaders who set up a new path for the future, and people, walk down the track of these leaders. Now, when you say about all these things, can we avoid a change? Changes cannot be avoided. Changes are integral part of life. Changes are everywhere. Now when we are talking even for the plantation, even for a rubber industry, there are certain element of weather condition which is very very critical for growing of rubber. There are certain levels of rains that is expected. In case of a tire industry, when you say if any of these things backfires and then the production of rubber falls down, then it is going to create a lot of uncertainty in the availability of rubber, and the demand supply, I mean, completely changes the ecosystem. Now, can we avoid this? You cannot avoid a change because changes are going to be permanent in life in some form or other. So what kind of a changes we are talking about? So it is basically recognition of a new paradigm or even questioning existing paradigm within us. Are we on the right track or we need to, what is decided 5 years back, 2 years back, 1 year back may not be applicable for the current day and for tomorrow. So do we need to, introspect and do something different? Then we have to create a vision based on what we did till today will not take us forward for next 5 years because what we did better as what has brought us till day today. Now if you want to go ahead, then we have to think differently. So you need to have a completely good visioning process, and that visioning process comes with looking at the environment, looking at the challenges around, looking at our own internal process systems and how good and how bad we are, so that we need to think and create a new vision process. Then understand the reality where we are today. Then you have to experience the new behavior that is coming around you. Then new learning peak experience coming out, aha, wow, kind of a feel. You have to do a lot of unlearning within ourselves. Whatever we say that, I already know this, so I don't have to think anything different. That attitude may not work. Then more important is any change that is thought of to bring in into the system, the first thing will be the resistance which is coming out of the fear. So we need to cut the fear, we need to overcome the resistance. So dealing with resistance becomes a very important thing. So when you look at the change of various things that's happening, what is coming clearly to the mind is there is one thing which is very important, and change is inherent and part of our life, and that is the only permanent thing in life. So if at all we need to come out of all these things, we should be willing to think through and work on the changes in a positive mind frame. then only we'll be able to come out successful. So when I say come out successful, managing the change, how do we manage a change? So there is Dr. Mary Lippitt's method, which is universally available and people understand it. So there are, 6 pillars leading into the process of handling the change: objectives and goals, robust methodology, structure and resources, skills, inspiration and motivation, and action plan. Ideally, when all the 6 are in place, then it leads you to breakthrough results. But are we having this at all times? Many times there is no immediate objective or goals or vision set. We are in a problem, we see a change hitting us, so we have to change. So immediately you talk about robust methodology, structure, skills, inspiration, motivation, everything, an action plan, but then there is no objective. So that leads to confusion. You don't know where you're really traveling to. If you don't have a robust methodology, whereas you have everything else, that leads to incremental benefits. Because methodology is not very robust, it can give you some immediate gains, but it may not take you longer. If you have all other things but no structure and resource, then it will lead to frustration, because people will feel they are not supported to encounter and handle the change. If you have everything but no skills, so skills are very important in managing a change. If it is not there, then there is a lot of anxiety. What is going to come out, how I'm going to meet, and how I'm going to do it, like that. Again, you have everything but there is no inspiration and motivation, then it leads to slow progress, because people always need a kind of a pat on the back for every handling every situation, and if that is not there, then it leads to kind of a slow progress. You have all the 5 but there is no action plan, then you are actually in a false start. You are not even starting, you are only talking but no action happening. So these are the very proven methodology of managing change, and it is very nicely articulated and put in a very concise table by Dr. Mary Lippitt. So this helps us to understand what we need to do, what we need to fix in order to take it to the next level. So every time when you make a change and you are handling a change and managing a change, just think within yourself whether, am I missing anything in the process? Have I answered, have I ticked all the 6 boxes to create a breakthrough result for me? Now, when we say all these things, everything, when you, with the very topic started with quality assurance and the business excellence, how quality assurance impacts the business excellence. So when we say why a business is done to create money, and create money in an ethical way, in a legalized way, in a very structured, without impacting the society, without impacting anybody. At the same time, you're a contributor to the society. So business is done to make a profit. Business is done to make a growth, because what your business startup today is, you want to see this growing manifold times, and you want to create a business for the perpetuity, not only for you, maybe after the person doing is generations of people come and take the businesses up. And when you do the business, it has to create a good image. Image building is as important in doing a business as, creating a business itself. And when you say all these things, basically when you say business is meant to make profit, how do you define profit? Profit is defined as the universal thumb rule. There is a price to anything, and then there is a cost of manufacturing. Price minus cost is profit. When you do this, who controls the profit? Who controls the price? Who controls the cost? Are all these things controlled by one? If yes, then how it is handled? If no, then how it is to be looked at? So when you look at the concerns, any for a manufacturing person, wherever it is, whichever be the product, be it a hardcore rubber which is being manufactured, or it is a synthetic rubber which is manufactured, or it's any rubber product, maybe like any o-rings or any rubber product which is done, or even a tire which is done, there are 2 set of people. One is a manufacturer, one is a customer. For manufacturer, whatever he makes has to have a quality. Whatever he has made, it has to have a cost attached to that, and then the productivity should go up. If the productivity is good, very high, and if the cost is, optimal with him and with a good quality, then he will be able to give a better product and operate the business in a better level. What does the customer look at? He wants the quality, but he wants the lowest price. So if your company as a manufacturer says I'm going to spend $100 for making a product, but customer will say that I'm not willing to give you more than $50. So he looks at the price which is much different from what a company is looking, manufacturer is looking. And when you say about the productivity, company says that manufacturer says that I will make so much of a productivity and keep it, but then the customer says I don't care about your productivity, I need a availability. Distribution and service is very important. I need to get an item at a time when I want, at a place when I want, at a cost when I want, at a quality I want. That is today's customers need. So when you look at the both, there is only one thing which is common to both manufacturer as well as for customer. This can be for a manufacturer also, it can be for a service industry also. Like if you talk about a service industry, they also have to ensure that quality is at the top peak level. So the concerns of manufacturer and the customer are generally not the same. Customer usually has no concern for company's productivity or company's incurrence of cost. So quality is the common problem. So how do we work on this, and how do we enhance the quality at a low cost? So understanding the cost structure little more better, because when we talk about quality playing a role in business excellence, we need to have a connect between the two. So when you look at first, there are three cases: cost plus profit is equal to price, which is the status quo. Second is price minus cost is equal to profit, which is a principle number one, subtraction, and price minus profit is equal to cost is the subtraction principle two. So what do I mean? When I'm going to talk about a cost price is not controlled by me, it is controlled by the supplier and the environment. Like today, when the oil prices go up, there is no connection between natural rubber and a crude oil. However, when the crude oil prices go up, the cost of natural rubber also gets impacted. Why? When the crude oil goes up, all the derivatives of crude oil, like any synthetic rubber production, then they don't sell high because of the higher cost. When the synthetic rubber sales hits, and it gets a hit, then automatically they move to production of natural rubber. So the impact is coming out of the natural rubber. So what directly relation is there between natural rubber and crude oil? There is nothing. It is an indirect impact, because natural rubber and synthetic rubber put together constitutes making of a rubber product, be it a tire, be it or any other rubber product that we talk about. So it is very important. Cost price, when you look at, which is not within our control, which is at the control of a third party like a supplier or the environment per se, there we will have no say. Again, when you talk about the subtraction principle number one, here I'm talking about a selling price. Selling price is it is controlled by the customer. I may say I want $100 for a product or for a service, but if the customer says I am not going to give you more than $60, $50, then I cannot oversell it and price it and then make him give it. So then to create that, I have to have a lot of value propositions. So selling price is controlled by the customer and the environment. Again, what is in our hands? How to decide the profit. I need a profit because I'm doing a business, I need a profit. So how do I control the profit? I can control my profit only on the basis of working on my internal cost, which is the cost of manufacturing, and the processes which I'm going to do to ensure that the rejections, rework, scrap, or the bare minimum or as good as zero. When I do this way, then the entire thing, like whatever I'm producing becomes manageable, good quality to go to the market. And when this is made available to the market, then the entire thing gets sold, and then it increases the profitability. So that's how I'll be able to manage. So instead of looking at outside and telling that the supplier should reduce the price, the customer should increase the price and give it to me, let us look inward. When I'm pointing the finger, there is only one finger pointing at you, but there are three pointing back to me. So I'm now going to look inward and start working what is in my control. When I look at that in my control is to work on my internal efficiencies, internal effectiveness, and internal process control. And that is where the quality comes into main focus of understanding how to improve all these things, like what we saw in the first, like reducing the variations and reducing the waste. So that is how the profit to the business, which is very key. We are saying how we are going to promote an increase and ensure that we have a good profit given the situation around in the environment remains the same. How do we make ourselves comfortable? So The target is lowest quality, I mean highest quality and the lowest cost. So when we say lowest cost, I should be able to give the product or service to a customer at a price which he can even not think of. At the same time, I have to give him with the highest quality for which he will be willing to pay a price to me. So that is what is a target for us. So how do we do this? Now we saw all these things that we need to do this. Now how to make the things happen in the way that we are thinking it has to work to enhance the quality so that we have a good business. There are two types of general strategies business. One is A type, which is an American type. One other one is a J type, which is a Japanese type. While American types always thinks of the metrics and the outcome deliverables, whereas the J type thinks of the ones which are going to making of the business, which is the processes. So in 20th century, when you look at all the decision making, like purchasing, closing plan, mergers, acquisitions, whatever we talk about, leading to effectiveness and scaling up of the business. That was a typical American type. While in Japanese type, it was a decision making with a company wide effort, which means 100% total people involvement, employee involvement, and that leading to effectiveness. So basically, you have to talk about improvement of the quality, bringing it to world class level, reduction, and completely minimizing the rejections and defects. So when you do this, they found that in the 21st century, the better way to look at is American thing has a purpose in mind of business enhancement, and Japanese type as a methods deployed to create and achieve that. So it should be a combo of both, and we should focus on mixing up both and making a American type with a Japanese type input so that we get the best of both the synergies. And that's how the businesses got tuned. So while in American type, you looked at acceptance of quality level as one of the main deterrent or main of the one main key concern for a process. In Japanese type, they were looking at the defect levels as one. Once the defect levels are brought to almost zero type, automatically the quality level goes up. And the defect level will come to zero once you avoid the variations, once you create more stable and capable processes. So when that improves, automatically your quality level also improves. So the basic perception was looking at the metrics. We were looking earlier at a metrics of percentage as a key benchmarking parameter, but today we no longer look at percentage. We start looking at ppm, parts per million, parts per zillion, and all these things, so that when your focus is on a broader canvas to look at a million and work on a certain level of defect levels, automatically it enhances the process quality level. Now these are all basically done covering the total quality management. Total quality management is one tool which I said like earlier. It is end-to-end tool where we are not talking about a product or service per se. We are talking totally focusing on the processes that we deploy in order to achieve this into a complete end-to-end quality. So which is objective is to become the lowest cost manufacturer and highest quality supplier, then satisfy even delight the customer. When I say customer, it's all stakeholder. Customer is one, shareholder is one, people, the employees are one, society, we are answerable to the society, responsible to the society. How do we keep the society happy, society around us, and overall environment, taking care of the emissions, pollutions, and all those stuff. So what should be the priorities? So how to set the priority? Now we have seen that whenever we talk about a operation, there are a lot of challenges. So let's look at some of them and see and identify whether we are one of that, or are we having these kind of things in our organization also. So what are the symptoms basically we are talking about? The symptoms are, I have a high incidences of abnormalities. What is abnormality? I have a requirement, I have a reality, that is a specification and actual, both are not meeting each other. So that leaves a big gap, and that is called as an abnormality. So is my incidences of abnormality very high? Second, what is the other one? High rejection. Because of high abnormality, my rejections and rework are very, very high, leading to more of a rework, repair, and sometimes into scrap also, leading to a lot of waste generation. And many a times it leads to rework, means it's a non-value added work also. There is a NVA coming into the process. it leads to higher scrap. Then what else? When rejections, rework, scrap goes high, automatically it reduces the yield. Straight pass gets reduced, the yield gets reduced. So we are not able to meet the desired productivity or the efficiencies. Thereby we are facing a lower efficiencies and even the lower productivity. And when so much of a complaints, defects, abnormalities is seen inside the premises, there will obviously be some spillover going to the customer, and this again comes back as a high customer complaints and rejections. So a dissatisfied customer is the most dangerous thing to have in a business. So we don't want such thing. So are we seeing a high customer complaint, thereby leading into low sales and low profitability? Or maybe your sales are good, but because the customer has understood that you have a lot of rejection, he expects you to come out with lot of discounts and pampering him with all kind of discounts, which is again hitting you directly on the profitability. And last but not the least, all these things leading to a very low employee morale, because the employee loses the confidence in the product and the company performance, and thereby he sets into a negative mindset of thinking rather than a positive mindset of thinking. So these are all some of the symptoms which normally impacts a business. And when such a thing happens, the first thing we should do is a self introspection. Are we seeing one or many or the identified symptoms that we have seen here? So when you see this, the first question that comes to our mind is, are the systems in place? Are we having adequate systems in place which can take care of all these symptoms that we have seen? If we have systems in place, the next question comes, are the processes defined? Do we have a defined process to take care of all these symptoms, to prevent them from happening in the future? And last but not the least, we also think about, are we reactive or a proactive person? Whether we are going, like if you look back and see the managing the change process, so are we in a reactive mode or are we in a proactive mode? If you are in a proactive mode, then we will not be getting into the anxiety mode, understand the process, accordingly design the process to mitigate and then get over it and excel. But if you are on a reactive process, then the anxiety itself will make us create more and more of trouble, and then problems will only multiply. So how do we take care of all these things? So some of the methods that we do is first time right approach in end-to-end process. Any process that we design, anything that we do, let us you know consciously adopt a method of first time right. What is the meaning of first time right? First time right is anything that I do, I will do it with the intention of having 100% yield and 0% rejection. Is it possible to have a 0% rejection? Absolutely not. That is why we are even saying, even at a Six Sigma level, when discussions are happening, we say 3.4 DPMO. We don't say 0 DPMO. So when you say 3.4, that means there is some amount of defects which are going to be there. That's why I used the word variation cannot be eliminated. It can only be minimized. So what here we are saying is, any process that is designed, let us design it in such a way that the approach what we give is a first time right. So let us reflect on this on a rubber industry, how it can be there. If you typically go into any rubber industry, typically people who are making hoses, who are making o-rings or rubber mats, rubber pads, they are mostly a kind of a not a very high-end manufacturing setup, mid-level or start level. So they will be having a lot of resource challenges. More the resource challenges, they will be ending up with more kind of a rework or incidences of abnormalities or rejections. So when such things are happening, it is definitely going to impact them on the quality. So when we say first time right approach, so anything that we design, whether it is a formulation design or cost design or operational design or process design or people who are employed, most of the time these kind of industries you see unskilled, non-regular, untrained people will be more, because the floating population will be very, very high. Even in floating, is it bad to have a contractual workman in the system? Absolutely not. Is it a sin to have untrained people? Yes. You have to put anybody on the job only after a proper training, giving them the understanding of what we are talking about. Only then the man related issues of abnormalities reduces, thereby giving you the opportunity to create a better first time approach. So first time approach in end-to-end process is very, very critical, and we have to create a conscious process to that. Next, whatever process that we created, we have to focus on establishing a stable and capable processes. So what is stable and capable process? Where we talk about a CPK of 1.3, 1.6 kind of a thing, and CPK is nothing but a process capability index. So we need to ensure that our processes are capable, predictable, and understandable with the lowest variation. Then what is the next thing? We have to focus on a kind of a war on waste and abnormality. The moment we focus our entire efforts and thoughts on abnormalities reduction and waste reduction, then automatically our rework comes down, automatically our repair comes down, automatically our scrap comes down, which means the yield goes up. When the yield goes up, the productivity goes up. When the productivity goes up, my availability of product to the market increases, which means the sales increases, delivery is in place. When the sales increases, the profit increases. Because we are working on reduction of abnormality, rework, and scrap, and enhancement of quality is done, automatically my customer complaint reduces. And the customer complaint reduces, customer wants to engage with the company again and again repeatedly. When this kind of a repeat business happens, automatically the company profits also go up, and it leads to a very good high consistent quality in the product, high consistent productivity in the process, high consistent delivery to the customer. When all these three are in place, it automatically leads to a customer delight. So what is a customer delight? Sorry, what is a customer delight? Customer delight is one where the customer gets what he wants, and he also gets what he has not asked for. So you are giving him a latent need of customer, so which is attractive quality also you are giving him, so he is already delighted. When a customer is delighted, that leads to high profitability and satisfaction of all the stakeholders. Because when the money circulation in a business is unhindered and goes in a free flow, then all the stakeholders also start becoming more and more happy. So what is the final outcome of all these things? So whenever you have this kind of a situation, first thing is you see that the quality that we are talking about is completely enhanced one, and a high quality product you are getting. And the second that you see is whatever you are giving, you are able to give it at a reduced cost. So primarily, when we started the discussion, we said that we have to have quality, how it QA influences the business excellence in rubber industry or in the tire industry or any allied industries. This is the way. When we work on building up the system processes using a first time approach, stable capable process, war on waste, coupled with quality management system in place, then people who are involved in the job are trained and deployed with a real skill set. All these cumulatively impacts on reducing your variations, wastages, and thereby increasing the quality, consistency, productivity, and delivery, leading to customer delight. Now we will quickly touch about what is a process of FTR. So FTR is what? Is it a robust abnormality handling process? Yes. What is the other way of looking at it? Promote zero defect workstation. Can I promote a zero defect? Can I make a workstation with a zero defect? Yes, we can. So when I say zero, practically zero may be a misnomer or non-achievable thing. As I said, variations are inevitable, but you can always minimize it to the lowest level where the variations and the measures can be predicted to meet the customer expectation. What is the other thing? Robust processes approach. So I need to create a inherent system with a PDCA and SDCA. What is PDCA? Plan, do, check and act. Every process has to go through the plan, do, check and act. I make a good plan of how to do it, and then I do the process, and after doing the process I evaluate the process and understand if there is any deviation, and if there is a deviation I go through the root cause and find out what is the root cause, why it has happened. Again I correct and check the process and do it and correct it. So when I do a PDCA, I ensure that this rotational PDCA ensures a good process output, and this I have to continue with the next level. After whatever gaps I saw, I will fulfill it with a proper set of standard corrections that is required in the system, and rotate the SDCA, which is the standardizing process, will be first done. Again, do, check, act. So a continuous combination of PDCA and SDCA will ensure that your process quality is taken much higher, many notches higher, and this also influences your higher productivity as well as good effectiveness. We have to also focus on muda, mura, and muri. What is muda, mura, muri? Muda is a waste, mura is inconsistency, and muri is a strain and fatigue. So if a person who is working on the shop floor or anywhere, even in the rubber estate, if he finds that the work toil is going to be very heavy on him, then his output gets reduced because he is mentally not happy doing the job, so with so much of a discomfort. At the same time, any process that we design, if the consistency is not, the variations are so high, then it is going to lead to a lot of rejections. And muda, again, it talks about all the waste, like we earlier saw in the start of the slides, when variations and waste, 7 types of waste are there. So muda is a waste. So this, if you avoid, you're naturally taking and tracking your process to FTR. High focus on 5 years. 5 years is nothing but simple things doing in a very systematic way. There is a place for everything and everything in way. Remove all unwanted thing. Then put a tag, assign, and identify every process so that retrieval time for any product does not take more than 30 seconds. And then you also standardize and then improve. So these are the 5 focuses what you are going to sustain and standardize. Then selection of right machines. Whenever we are talking about FTR, any machine that is required in the process for making a rubber product, for making a tire, we need to ensure that the right machinery is identified and right machinery is purchased, because many a times the quality of machine also directly has an impact on the output, which is a good product or a defective product. So where possible, we have to ensure that the optimized quality of the machine is taken and process is optimized to ensure that as a combination of a machine and a process, we are able to get a good product first time right. There is a lean approach. We need to understand the flow of the material, so that there is the lean approach always helps in identifying and ensuring that we don't keep too much of inventory. So what we saw as a team wood, so those things can be addressed, and minimizing inventory, movement, everything. So lean approach helps us in doing that. 100% people involvement will ensure that this right skill is developed and deployed. And deployment of TQM as a practice, end-to-end quality is ensured and focused. And it's also VSM, which is value stream mapping, which is part of the lean approach, understanding the balancing of the process and accordingly setting up the process. So use of a digital. Now the industry is moving from 1, 2, 3 to industry 4.0, where everything is more focused on digitalization. So how can we bring in digitalization into our process, which will minimize our efforts and minimize our variations and increase our predictability? Because there is a usage of artificial intelligence, there is a usage of machine learning, there is the internet of things. So all these things are available. So data analytics becomes very important. So how do we enhance quality using the right data analytics, using the AI, ML, and IoT, which is part of the industry 4.0? So when we do all these things, what happens is we are actually trying to build quality in process. We are trying to enhance, enrich the process making itself. When you have all these things in place with a big UIP focus and in the process, automatically we see as a combination of all, we are in a direction to set the first time right process in our system. Now when we talk about first time right, it has to be coupled with some quality systems. So quality systems are also, there are 4-5 levels of maturity. We see this. Level 1 is the initial one, where basic QA activities, ad hoc, poorly arranged testing, some there, some not there, kind of a thing. Then the managed situation is like on a level 1 you are at kind of inspection mode. Now you are coming to some quality control mode. There are some activities planned and documented, testing procedures are, but you don't have a quality process or practice in place. Then you go to the level 3 defined, where you have a established quality assurance system. You create SOPs, you create work instruction, you create skill matrices. and you see how the process has to be deployed. You create a training need identification for people. You train all people in various aspects of their, the weak points, and ensure that you support them to get into a high skill level, so to meet the entire process. Then it goes to, matured and a measured one, where you start having a measurement of everything. You can use your artificial intelligence machine having the, HMIs, human machine interface you can have. Then you can collect the data, analyze the data, SCADAs can be used, then data analytics can be improved. With all these things, you are in a position to, use AI ML processes to better qualify and make the processes more robust. When this kind of a things are supplemented with each other from stage 1 to 4, then you reach a final level of QA maturity, where there is a regular QA and optimization and proactive processes set up. PDCA, SDCA work in a closed loop. You move away from a continuous improvement to continual improvement, and you are more customer centric and more proactive to customer engagement. Now there are quality standard. What we say, standard should have a clear eye on customer focus, leadership, my vision, mission, processes, my goals for the entire set of employees in the company, engagement of people, how to energize and engage 100% people in the process. Then define a process approach everywhere. PDC, SDC has to be there, irrespective of what function you are talking about. Then improvement. We will be seeing what is an improvement, that I'll tell you. So there are two types of improvement: continuous and continual. And evidence-based decision making, always you should talk with the data-based and fact-based decisions, and not on a perception-based decision. Then relationship management, enhancing the relationship between us and the supplier, us and the customer, us and the stakeholders, like investors, employees. So building up a good relationship. So these all together builds up and improves the level of your quality assurance from a level 1 to level 5. We are going to see, when you say quality first, basically what we are talking, adopt a quality first principle, which means you improve the design excellent, where the cost is initially seen more for the design build-up, but when the conformities goes up, when the compliances is improved, and then it reduces the abnormalities and thereby leading to fewer errors, then it reduces the rework, reconciliation, inspection, and it turns out into high productivity. This higher productivity directly implies that your actual cost loaded on the product, it reduces the cost in the subsequent operations, and it gives you a better efficiency. This enables you to reduce your price to the customer, because whatever factored prices or variations because of the processes that you are going to incur, that has come down. This can be passed on to the customer by reducing the prices. And when you reduce the price and give it to the customer with a good quality, it increases the sales. As the sales increase, then the profitability increases in the longer run. You should always look at a long term and not only look at a short term for any activity. That is a fundamental focus of TQM. Now, next we go to working with facts and data. Data is very important and facts are important. So when I say I'm feeling cold, it is just an opinion. When I'm saying, a temperature of 15 degree is making me feel cold, it is a fact, because I'm supporting it with the data of 15 degree. So like that, every process, instead of talking in a thin air or in an abstract way, we should try to fetch the data for each and every process output, and thereby once the data is there, analyze the data, work with the data, and work with the facts, so that you are able to take an informed decision, and we can come out with a correct proactive processes for the future. So in Japanese method, this is called as 3G, which is Gemba, Genbutsu, and Genjutsu. And Indian translation is 3Rs, which is the real workplace, real object, and the real fact. Anything, whenever you are seeing a problem, go to Gemba, go to the work spot, main place where it is happening. It will tell you a different picture. Just to give any crime serial, when you are looking at any crime is being investigated, they don't work only with whatever evidences are thrown and shown and by people. They go to the crime spot, cordon of the crime spot, and then they go and look for evidences. So that is what we are trying to do in the process also. Whether it is my rubber yield is less, or my rubber product my yield is less, or my tire product is yield is less. So I need to first go to a point of operation, which is Gemba, look at the observation and get the data, observe the facts, then properly understand the real fact behind it, and from there you go to the root cause analysis, and there are many tools which are there to support and improve the system on this. Similarly, when we are talking about 3R, we are also clear, we should look at the 3M's. In Japanese language, 3M's means Muda, Muri, and Mura. These are all integral to every manufacturing or production activities. It is also applicable to service activities. When you talk about Mudambari, it is there. Even if you go to the rubber plantation estate, you will see all the three happening. If you go to a shop floor on any rubber product manufacturing company like O-ring or rubber sheet, you will see all the 3M. You go to tire industry, you can see all the three. For that matter, you go to any industry which is a manufacturing type, you will see Muda Muri Mura very much in place. It is only our awareness to understand and identify to work on, which is very, very important. That's why the focus is given on the 3Rs and the 3Ms. So Muda is 7 waste, which is a team mode, is an acronym. I said Muri is a stress or strain on the process or on the people. Mura is a total inconsistency. So when we take care of the 3R, 3M, and basic abnormalities, and you talk about the quality systems in place, then we are saying that we are actually going into the right frame of setting up of a quality system. There is continuous and continual improvement. There is a typical example I can give. Continuous improvement is you keep improving, so that when the person changes or the situation changes, whatever improved may not stay there, it may roll back and come back to the start point. Whereas when you go to the continual improvement, you start with a place and then probably you go one line of improvement and then you go to the next improvement process, and after improving the process, whatever changes you did, you actually stabilize and standardize the whole thing. So this is the start of the process. I'm now going to PDCA cycle, which is an improvement. After doing the PDCA, validating the change, validating the improvement process, I now say this has gone from a level here to a level there. Now I have to standardize that process and sustain it. So when I do a SDCA, standardizing the changes and then looking on the operations, do and check and act, I see that it is able to hold on for a considerable period of time. Now, that what is the time we can decide independently depending upon the companies and operation. So once it's standardized and validated, now I go to the next level of improvement again with the second cycle of PDCA. So again, I go to the SDCA. So like this, I rotate my PDCA, SDCA, PDCA, SDCA, one after other, and multiple levels of PDCA, SDCA when it is there in a process. Then this activity is called as continual improvement, and this continual improvement will always enhance the product quality or process quality or service quality from one level to some hundreds of notches higher in the uh, as the process continual improvement goes on. So finally, to sum up things, so we are saying that successful company with a huge profit, when you say you have a robust QA system, you have a culture of PDCA, SDCA, RCA, which is a root cause analysis. You have a high clear focus on the 3M's, Muda, Mura, Muri, and 3Rs, which is a real object, real place, and the real evidences. And then you have a customer centric and focused approach, because customer is very, very important in any business. And if you don't satisfy the customer, then your repeat business is not going to be there. And we don't want to do anything with one or two or three people, because this one or two, three people, if they go out of the system, it should not collapse the system. So the standard has to be that 100% employee involvement has to be there, and create a process so robust, training everyone to meet the challenges. And the attitude or the culture of the organization to be is continuously focus on continual improvement. You improve, stabilize, improve, stabilize, improve, stabilize. So when you have this kind of a system in place with a focus on abnormality, focus on reducing the variation, focus on PDCA, SDCA, focus on RCA, and focus on the 3M, 3R, and mainly customer supported by a good company vision, management vision, mission and objectives, and with 100% of employment, what happens is we see the business growing manifold times. The excellence of the business goes from one level to manifold times better, and this increases the profitability of the organization. When the profitability of the organization improves and the company is in a very good healthy position, it reflects in, got a happy customer kind of a feel. So when the customer is happy, we are all happy, all the stakeholders are happy, and our morale is very high. So finally it ends up saying that the QA, which is integral to every business, how it can enhance the business excellence with all these inputs going, together from different sources and from different viewpoints. So that leads us to the happy customers. So with that, we come to the end of the session, and thank you very much.
Okay, that's the excellent presentation by Mr. Kannan. Mr. Kannan, please come forward. Okay. Very good presentation. It's definitely a long presentation. But it's worthwhile for all the audience who is participating, listening to this presentation on the role of quality assurance in our rubber industry. Kannan, before we close this session, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions for the benefit of the audience, for the industry benefit as well. Yeah. First of all, JK, you were with the tire industry for a long time, and currently you are a consultant and offering training programs and consulting services. Can you elaborate about your more onto the JK Associates? What kind of service you're providing and what kind of clients, please? Yeah.
Okay. Basically, I have been spending almost 4 decades into the tire industry, spread across various tire companies, like I have given in the start of the presentation. And I have also had the privilege of working across the functions. It is not only quality. I started with production, went into sales, marketing, service, then I went into the quality assurance process, finally culminating in the total quality management deployment. So, and I was also an assessor of CII, which means we had a business excellence process going on in our company, and I used to be one of the assessors for the group. So when I do that, then I was getting a 360-degree perspective, where it all started with the product quality, and from there it went into business quality. So I could see and appreciate the challenges, concerns from each and every individual function as they work on, and it was giving me a very good insight, like how a thing should not be. Then for that, when we went into the TQM, so it gave us a very straight, good focus and approach to handle it in a right way and fix all these loopholes. So that's how the whole thing has happened. And I would say that the last 10-15 years journey in TQM has really opened up my eyes towards quality, not as a product or service quality, quality as an end-to-end, anything. Even at home also, when there is a discussion going on, even in keeping the right things in right place, retrieval and all those things, my daughter and wife gets cheesed up with me, but then end of the day they appreciate, saying that no, these are all integral. So it is something like that. It builds into the system. And JK is nothing but it is an what do you call, a combination of two names of me and my wife. My wife's name is Jayashri and my name is Kannan. So as a combination, we kept it as a JK. And there is a tire company also, JK. So that's why I didn't use JK as an initial. So I put it as JY and KY. So there is nothing more than that.
Okay, great.
As a JK Associates, we are more into consulting and training aspects. In fact, whatever I am today, I am fully 100% indebted to and thankful to see it, because that I have spent major part of my time in that company, and it is that company which made me grow to what I am today, give me the recognition of what I am today. So obviously it is now the giving back time. So I spend and contribute more to that company in the form of a training the people and associates, as well as helping in all the aspects of process uh, teaching, as well as on the process improvements. So that is a basic thing. But I also do other consultations with other companies which are into the service industry as well as into IT. Now I'm more into integrating the digital process. As I said, industry 4.0 is gaining momentum. So you need to see how to integrate the digital process into the manufacturing activity. In the sense, bring in more of analytics, basically how to use the data points. Actually, normally in operations, people don't give much of respect to the data and all. So now when you know, understand the data and how the data can really influence and change the business scope, then you will be very surprised that you cut down on man hours on so much of analysis doing on Excel based thing. And also immediate quick decisions are coming using AI. The data
Yeah.
based on the past, AI takes the lead and gives you all the input. So it's something very interesting. I'm blending this digital into QA is a good
Mm.
challenge, and it's a interesting learning point and learning curve for me also.
Super. Super. I would like to ask you one issue. You are the core member of the kind of team member for the achieving the Deming Prize for the first time in India for
Correct.
the tire factory. Can you give some insight of how was the experience? What kind of journey was at the time?
See, Deming is a dream for
Yeah,
any company, because that is
sure.
the epitome of the quality certification, or so quality assessment or quality recognition.
Yeah.
And Deming does not go with a compliance mode. Like, you have to comply with the 10 requirements, you have complied with 10, so you are now Deming. It is not like ISO. So Deming is something you are living the process. So Deming says how your PDCA, SDCA is deep rooted in the system, how the RCA, root cause analysis, is deep rooted in the system, how your visioning process starts, how your customer is taken care. So when you look at the TQM as a triangle, if you look at it, is with the customer, people, and a process. So how
Mhm.
these three are integrated and interwoven in a business end to end. That is what is Deming they look out. And you have to substantiate this process not by only writing reams of documents. You have to actually show by physical examples that I have done 500 multiple PDCAs. I have done so much of continual improvements. I have done so much of kaizens. Like, in my company where we worked, we had gone up to more than 40-50,000 kaizens.
Oh,
So that is a benchmark to say that every individual person on the floor or in the
mhm,
system are always wearing the thinking hat to continuously change. So this Deming exercise was a very new thing to us, and we almost started from a scratch. And we had a technical guru for us by name Mr. N. Ramnathan, who has actually held my hand and taught me everything like a school teacher. So he is like a father figure to me, and he is a guru also to me. So when he says something, and that is completely Bible for me. So such a kind of environment, so you tend to actually internalize the learnings everywhere,
mhm,
and then start living that. So when you
mhm.
do that, then automatically small things also that comes into the
Sure.
surface, you attend to that and then fix and correct and carry on. So it is a
Yeah.
wonderful experience, Deming. And we also visited a lot of Deming companies which are already,
Mm.
they have won the companies. So sometimes we say seeing is believing. So
Yeah.
people believe only when they see.
Yeah.
So when you go and visit those companies and then compare back home, then you see a stark difference between a very well established frontline company and where you are today. So you
Mm.
know that there is a long travel to be done. So automatically you start recalibrating yourself and then start moving towards it. So Deming was a wonderful experience, rich experience, I would say.
You know, we talk of big companies, of course, they have a system to follow. Manpower is there, assurance, quality assurance, quality control. If you're now you're offering consulting service, I think some of the companies may be the small and medium scale. What challenges you do see kind of experiencing, implementing or make them practice quality assurance in the process?
Very good question, Param. Actually, much contrary to the thought, if I have to have a good quality, I need to spend more. If I have a good quality, I need to have more people in the system. These are all myths actually. In fact, what we are doing, when you empower the person, like I produce, I own my quality. It is not that I produce, you monitor or you manage. When I produce and you manage, managing is your problem, not my problem. So when I say I produce, I manage, then the entire focus shifts to me. So when that kind of a situation is there, I don't need to have a battalion of people to monitor and oversee who is doing right and who is doing wrong. All I need to do is empower the fellow, upskill that fellow, and then continually keep training and upskilling him so that he becomes a first person to own the process. And you are only to ensure and supplement if there is any weak link, how to fix it, and then assure the process to be more and more robust with the multiple PDC SDC. So rather than actually whenever a company embarks on adopting TQM or embracing TQM or even assurance process, you will be surprised to see that you can reduce the man count, because you are transferring the knowledge of one particular set of people into all across the board who are working, and so they own the responsibility. Like that it is. So I would say the challenge is more on MSME basically, and that is more because MSME feels adding a quality layer in their system is going to be additional cost, and they are mostly fraught with a lot of cost challenges. So at this point, if they have to add one more, then it is going to be totally at a profitability hit actually, and it is actually wrong. Like in the earlier thing, the panel discussion when we heard also, there are certain things like when you work on and improve your internal costs, automatically there is directly they are adding to the bottom line.
Okay.
But we assume that in my setup this much of internal cost is bound to happen. So it is more challenging a mindset actually. You have to think the paradigm and then challenge your mindset to come out with this kind of a thing. And I strongly recommend, now ISO is almost become a mandatory thing for any exports. Without
Yeah.
ISO you cannot export, but ISO is done on paper. Now how to convert this ISO on paper to ISO in shop or ISO on practice? That is where we need to focus. And one of my main challenge internally what I have taken is to handhold and help these people to realize the value of quality so that they understand and appreciate how it helps them to reduce the cost and thereby improve the profitability.
Hmm. But you still
So
see
that is
the,
a key thing I'm working on.
you're also working with the big companies as well. I know. Do you still see some challenges with the big companies in quality assurance, or they
It
already?
is.
Yeah.
No, it is. What happens is along the way, what I understood or what I learned is the baggage is very bad. When I say baggage, when I know I'm a quality guy experienced in quality line for 30 years, I think I know everything. And when this thought of I think I know everything comes, actually you don't know anything, because if you know everything, then the problem should not be seen on the shop floor in any
True.
company.
True.
So we are not willing to unlearn. If you recall in one of my slides, I had said unlearning is very, very important. A problem which is applicable to company A for the same kind of a product of company B, that may not be a problem. That is very indicative of your robustness of the process design. So process design makes and completely differentiates one company to other. Even if I steal the specification and the recipes of one company, the top good company, and straight away deploy it in company B, that product will be disaster,
True.
because there is
Yes.
something beyond the specification and recipe, and that is called as process design. And people who are working on it, how they do that is why we are fundamentally attacking in TQM end-to-end process design and upskilling the people, so that once you understand the variation limits how much it is, then you start working and then immediately identifying to correct it, rather than waiting for somebody else to come and pick it up and then take it for correction. So big companies are more at risk rather than small companies. Small companies are at risk because they are not aware. Big companies are more at risk because they are overconfident actually.
Okay. Super. As I understand, you offer the various training programs. I have listed out your programs. Can you elaborate on the topics that you offer? Maybe more details on the subjects you cover and how many days, or expand your training programs, please.
Yeah, sure, sure. See, basically, when you say quality, involves in understanding abnormality, and abnormality is how much it is not complying to the requirement. So understanding the abnormality, once you understand the abnormality, then you have to fix the abnormality. So for understanding and fixing the abnormality, you need to have the idea or knowledge about the tools of problem solving. So the problem solving and root cause analysis is one particular thing. It is a one-day program. Okay. And similarly, when you understand this, then while creating the process control, you need to anticipate the risk involved, or whatever the failure modes that are likely to happen. So it is predicting the failure or a potential failure, rather to say, and fixing up the controls to eliminate that. So when you do that, then you're talking about FMEA, which is failure mode effective analysis, and how it helps in making a robust process control. So this is again a 2 to 3 days workshop. It depends. It can be abridged to make it without any practical working examples and all, even in a day also. Then you have SPC MSA, which clearly talks about statistical process control and measurement system analysis. Statistical process control talks about the stability and the capability of a process, how to minimize the variation. MSA talks about how to read, when I'm qualifying a product as okay or not okay, how much judgmental error can come in qualifying it. For example, if I have a goal post, which is say the product has to be within this range, locating a product on the border, a bad product can be made as a good product and good product can be made as a bad product in the judgment. When this happens, one is lost to the company, one is lost to the customer. So it is playing such a critical role even in the measurements. So whatever instrument I am that is using to check and control whether is a measurement is good enough and measurement is controlled, measurement is predictable. So that is shown by the measurement system analysis. So measurement system analysis and SPC clubbed together ensures how to maintain the process capability as well as the stability.
Yeah.
So this is again a one-day program basically, and it involves extensive teaching as well as understanding to learn with some examples. 5 years is as I said, it's about a housekeeping. Basically, when I say housekeeping, it's a very narrow term. It is talking about 1S, 2S, 3S, 4S, like removing all unwanted, identifying there is a place for everything, then continuous improvement, and then how to standardize and then sustaining it. So these are the 5 elements, 5 levels of the housekeeping. So it is very must. If I have to give a very quick small example, suppose in a house, if there is a sudden power cut, who will be the best person to retrieve the candle and light the house? Definitely, it is not the male folk, it is only the women folk, either wife or mother, because
True.
she knows where the candle has to be kept, where the matchbox has to be kept.
Yes.
So that is a simple example of IS. If I know where things are to be kept, my retrieval can be at the fastest time and I don't have to waste the time. So how do I do it on the shop floor? That is a challenge. Similarly, ISO 9000. ISO 9000 is a basic quality standard which is now becoming almost universally mandated, and without which you cannot exchange trades between our country to the another country. So the basic principles of ISO management, what it is, how to do it, how to manage it, that also we give a training, and it's again a one-day training we can have and then complete it. And whatever I'm telling, this one day training, these are all covered by 2 days or 3 days by external people, but they are all with the practical examples to work on and understand. But when you abridge it to one day, then you will get the concepts clear, but may not be having a hard time of putting all the working examples. And process improvement in tire industry, because I am from tire industry for more than almost 4 decades. So every process independent processes leading to convert an raw material into tire. So at every process, all the improvements are done, how are the abnormalities handled. For that we take a separate training. And also tire manufacturing individual processes, like what is a mixing, what is extruding, what is calentering, what is bias cutting, tire building, curing. So for that also, how the process is designed and how the what are the do's and don'ts of the process, what are the machinery setups in the process, like that. They are all a module which is all taken, at least 3, 3, 4 hours of one subject. Actually, in a day we can cover 2 or around 4 hours per subject, like that. So these are the key major things. And now I am now, as I said, I am also exploring the possibility of bringing the analytics, business analytics tool into the integrating it with the quality process. So but that is in the pipeline.
Super. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Kanan, giving this good presentation and also addressing very important issues for the rubber industry. I look forward to seeing you more and more in my rubber industry news hour whenever it is convenient to you. Okay. Thanks once again for joining the session today. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Thanks, Farah. Thank you so much. My sincere and acknowledgement and thanks to my parent company CED for whatever I am today, and making me to even be a worthy to the society. Thanks a lot.
Super. Super. Okay. From my side, thanks to see it having you in my program. Thanks a
Thank you so
lot.
much.